Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I'm so excited to be joined by a very special guest today from across the world in Australia. Please welcome Chris West. Hey Chris.
Hello. I don't think I'm on track, though. I think I'm off the track. I'm a bit worried about this. I'm right off the track at the moment. So I hope I'll be right on track by the end of this time together. No, in all seriousness, it is such an honor to be on this show. I mean that. It's really special to have someone actually care about the randomness that I have to say. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you on the show because we connected recently when I released my EP, It Is What It Is, and you had such very nice things to say. So it was nice just getting to know you a little more and dive into your show. And of course, I think you have so much to share about the music industry and the radio world and all of that. So it's an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I have been doing this a while. I clearly have nothing better to do with my life than listen to indie music all day. So, I'm really looking forward to this and looking forward to sharing a bit of myself and my musings with the universe.
Absolutely.
I've got to tell you, it's weird being on this side of the desk. I'm so used to being the one who asks the questions, not answers them. So if I get a little bit like, I don't know, if I take over and if I start rambling and don't shut up, then, you can just turn me off. You can just turn the microphone off.
Okay.
You have control over the buttons this time, not me.
That's so great. That's so funny. I think like as an artist and then starting to do the podcast like during COVID, I've gotten a pretty equal amount of hosting and being the guest. So I've kind of had to get used to like putting on the different hats, like recognizing when I'm like hosting and recognizing, well, okay, wait, I'm the guest this time, so I need to like take the back seat a little bit and follow directions. So it's really interesting, but I'm very excited to have you. Can you share with the listeners a little about yourself and how you found yourself to being a radio presenter?
Certainly, it's a bit of an unorthodox journey, actually. So I'm visually impaired, and like a lot of VI kids, teens, 20 somethings in the early 2000s, in my case, teens, I was obsessed with radio and obsessed with internet radio and obsessed with basically being a complete and total dork on internet radio. And so I started this in 2006 when I was 16, and they were really bad, but I learned on the job. I had some great people to work with at the time, and we just grew up together. Radio was a real creative outlet, and whatever we were into, it happened. So I kind of carried on like that until 2011, when one night I was getting ready for a show the next day, and this person who had followed me on Twitter, an indie artist, just happened to DM me. I was going to be going to a music festival, and Slash was one of the headliners. And an artist DM'd me, this random indie artist who I'd never met before, never spoken to before, DM'd me out of the blue a Switch Out of Mind cover. I heard her voice and I fell in love. I don't know how else to describe it, and I just soaked it all up like a sponge. As much of a great artist as she was, and great friend that I'm glad she still is, she also, I think, sensed my passion and my love for her music, and she just wanted to show me all of her friends. And the network grew and grew and grew. And so since 2011 until now, I've been on 3 different stations, and over that time, I've just become a part of what we affectionately refer to on my show as the Indieverse, and I've kind of curated this little corner of the indie music community full of some of the most beautiful people. I've found love through this, and I've had so many great friends, and as Bono would say, "You've given me such a great life." I just love what I do every week. I love the fact that I never have to try too hard to find music because there's just so much of it. The net is so wide now. 10, 11 years of networking, there are just people. I'm always finding people. People always want to tell you about someone else, and I've just developed organically over this kind of, 15, 16-year period from my teens into now my early 30s doing this, and it's been the best thing ever. It's saved my life on many occasions, and I mean that quite literally.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I truly appreciate, and I know that all the other artists that you play truly appreciate the fact that you take so much time out of your life to give our music a platform because I think that, like you said, there's so much music out there today, and it's very hard when you have radio stations that have maybe a certain number of spots for songs or a certain time limit or whatever to be one of the artists that gets chosen for that show. Like there's so many people. And so I think radio presenters have a difficult job in the fact that you guys need to sort through so much music and pick the ones that you want to play. But for the ones of us who do get the opportunity to get our music played, it's such an honor and I appreciate that so much. So why don't we dig deeper? And I know that you chose a quote by Mark Knopfler, which is amazing. So can you please read that and share why you selected to read this quote?
Certainly, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to choose this quote. I had to think about it a bit, but I've used this quote, I've carried this quote with me. Mark Knopfler's my favorite, I guess, mainstream artist and mainstream songwriter. I've carried this quote with me as long as I've been a fan of his and a bootleg music collector. It's really helped me in my broadcasting journey. What you've got to do is just try and be true to yourself and get on with the business of writing songs and trying to do the right thing by the songs, which is what I've always tried to do. Don't believe in your own publicity, just get on with your life. There are two elements to that I have carried with me throughout my broadcasting, and I hope that holding these words to my heart has made me a better broadcaster. Firstly, don't believe your own publicity, just get on with your life. I mean, you've got to have a healthy ego to be a broadcaster, and you're doing an awful lot of self promotion. But if you start to believe those things that you've said, you're going to lose the essence of why you're doing it in the first place. And trying to maintain a sense of humility, trying to always remind myself it's not about me. Yes, I'm saying all of these massive things and writing all of these tweets and writing all of this copy, but it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about the songs. I'm not a songwriter myself. I've written some lyrics before, but I'm not a songwriter. But I wish I was. I admire songwriters. I love songwriters. I love songwriters. That they're my favorite people. They're truly my favorite people. To do the right thing by the song is really important to me as a broadcaster. And it comes down to, I believe, the difference between hearing and listening. A lot of people, a lot of radio presenters hear music. A lot of people in general hear music. We hear music all the time. It's on our radios, it's in shops, it's on our TVs, it's everywhere. We hear music. We hear music all day, every day. But do we listen to the music? Are we actually doing the right thing by the song, as Mark Knopfler says? And to me, in radio, that is of paramount importance. If I can give you an example of something that happened a few weeks ago on my show, an artist, a dear friend, I won't name them, sent me some music of theirs that I'd been trying to get hold of and it wasn't available digitally. So I asked them, could I have a copy of it? Because by the time a CD arrived from the other side of the world, blah, blah, blah. And they sent it to me. But they sent it to me during the show. I hadn't listened to it yet. And I asked them, what song should I play? And they gave me a song to play and I played it. And the song was too good. The song was too perfect. It was a song called Sister, and it was essentially talking. It was a woman sharing, trying to help a sister out of an abusive situation, out of a domestic violence situation. That was kind of the narrative arc of the song. I felt like an absolute. I just wanted the ground to swallow me whole because I had gone in cold. I didn't have some songs that would be sensitive to the subject matter to come out of that. I hadn't molded a playlist around it. I just thrown it in there because, of course, I had no idea. But that, to me, I was really, really upset, and I apologized to the artist. Now, I was able to kind of get out of the situation, but to me, being true to the song means listening to the lyrics, listening to the music, molding my playlist as I'm putting the show together in such a way that that the songs will somehow fit together. From song to song to song, there's some link, whether it's musical, whether it's lyrical, whether it's melodic, whether it has something to do with some weird kind of progression, whether it's weaving this big web of ideas, be them musical or lyrical. Maybe it's some voices that I feel sound right together. Maybe I like the way one song ends and the next song begins in terms of the chord structures might blend well together. To me, that's being true to the song, and particularly when those songs have a very sensitive subject matter. I'm thinking of some of the songs on your EP, to me. I actually had a moment a couple of weeks ago when I was playing some stuff from your EP where I had 2 choices, and it was the mood that of the show at the time dictated how I would come out of what I played. It dictated what songs from your EP I would play, and then how it would come out of that. I had 2 different moods of the show. I had a positive and a negative, and it was I just kinda went with my sort of instinct at the time. I'm not, painstakingly poring over, scores and charts and lyric sheets. No, no, no. It's very instinctive, but it's an instinct that I've trained over many, many years, and it's very important to me to be true to the songs, because it's the songs that people are there for. I'm just froth and bubble. I'm just nonsense. I'm just talking rubbish during the show. You know, I hope that, like a good curator at an art gallery or like a passionate speaker, I can put the case for the song and for why I like the song and for what the song means to me and for what the song is saying. And I'd like to hope that I can do that, and that I can breathe some I can transmit my passion for the music to the listeners, but ultimately, I don't want it to be about me. I don't want people to leave that show, to get up from wherever they've been listening. Maybe they've been making a cup of coffee and having breakfast. Maybe they're having dinner, depending on where they are in the world. Maybe they're at work. Maybe they're, I don't know, out for a run or walking a dog or whatever they're doing. That's the beauty of radio. It's the one-to-one medium. You are in a person's life during their day with whatever they're trying to do. But I want people to go away from that show with a song in their heart. I close every show by saying that, please fill your ears and your hearts with nothing but great music. I mean that sincerely, because that's what we're here for. That's why you do what you do, and that's why I do what I do.
Wow. So much. I got chills multiple times when you were talking because it's just like looking back at the quote you read, it's so dense, but hearing you break it down in a way that is so clear from a broadcaster's point of view was so interesting to me because when I read this quote, I was looking at it from the songwriter point of view. But I think it's so interesting that you spoke about serving the song or doing right by the song with the radio presenter situation where you're really making sure to listen to what the song is saying. You're not just going for the vibes. You're not just going for, oh, this has cool production. Cool, I'm going to play it. Like you're really listening to what the artist is saying. You really are looking at, the songwriter's intention and finding ways of putting songs together in a way that it flows and makes sense. I think that's something that I truly admire all radio presenters for is like, you're not just throwing songs together that you like in a random order.
Well, no, actually, don't give me too much credit there, because I do that sometimes. There are sometimes songs that are in there just because they're gonna make you feel good, just because they're going to bring up the vibe. It's all about carrying the listener on a journey with you, and that journey needs to have a beginning and a middle and an end. And then fill in everything in between. And there can be several middles, there can be several stops on the way uh, on this journey. But there are times when, yeah, you're just doing it because you're just playing a song because it's got a good vibe, or you're just playing a song because you like how it sounds. We've all done it, and a lot of radio presenters do that. I've clashed at length creatively with former colleagues over this over the years. We've had some serious arguments about this because they would come out of it. They would say that I'm an arrogant sod who's taking themselves far too seriously. Like that's how they would put it, and that the listeners don't care. But the listeners don't know that they do or don't care. You know, giving the listeners what they think they want is completely different to giving the listeners what you know they need. It's
Mhm.
completely different. So don't give us all too much credit, but I'd like to. I thank you though. I appreciate that. I do
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, for sure. Yeah, but I think, like, even then, it's still a mindful decision. Like, if you're throwing something in with a good vibe, like, you're making a mindful decision of, like, where would it naturally fit so it doesn't jar the listener from the other songs on the playlist. But yeah, no, I totally, completely get that. But I think, like, from the songwriter point of view, with doing right by the song and all of that, like, I've had so many times where I initially was going into songwriting with the mindset of, I want to write pop music. Like that's how I started. I wrote only pop music. I was not open to other genres, blah blah blah. And I think like now that I am very big with blending genres, mostly in pop and country somewhere on that spectrum, I'm not like going into the songwriting process thinking this is going to be a pop song in E flat major with a 120 BPM and all that.
Gu- Guitarists would hate you for doing a song in E flat major. Just saying.
I think like when I'm writing, I want to be honest and authentic, and I'm so focused on my lyrics. So when I go into the writing, my focus is on, okay, I'm going to write this song in the way it's meant to be written. If it comes out sounding up-tempo pop, cool. If it's like a contemporary country song, awesome. But I think that I've been in quite a few co-writes where songwriters try to force songs to be a certain way that they weren't naturally flowing. And so that's something I keep in mind, especially when writing solo, like just letting my songs flow. And I completely agree with the other thing you were talking about, like hosting the show, even though you are behind the microphone and you're the one sharing all these songs, that is not about you. That's super interesting. And that's something that I really need to balance out from hosting this podcast and being an artist, because when I'm being interviewed for my own music, like I am the one being talked about. It technically is about me. But when I'm hosting the podcast, like I try to let the guests talk more and really let them take the reins and speak because I'm the host. This isn't about me. I very rarely speak about my own music on the show unless it comes up naturally. And so it's gotten to the point sometimes where even in my own interviews, if I had like couple of back-to-back podcast interviews that I did myself and then I had to do an interview of my own. It's like uncomfortable sometimes when people are asking me questions because I'm like, I shouldn't be talking, they should be talking. So it's had to be like something I had to switch between naturally. But no, there's so much in this quote, and it's awesome hearing, the songwriter perspective and the broadcaster perspective.
I hate genres. Genre is a banned word on my show. Genre is not allowed. It is not permitted. The word genre is not allowed. You are not allowed to discuss genres on my radio show. It's banned. It's outlawed. Genre is just a way to make it easy for knobs like us in the music media world to put you, the songwriters, in a box. Whether that's a pop box, whether that's a country box, even whether that's a pop country box, or a crossover country box, or a no, you're making music. You're making music that sounds like Demi. You are not making music that sounds like pop or that sounds like country. There might be elements that are referencing those musical styles in your music, fine. But all genreing does is play into the algorithms that we are now dealing with on a daily basis rather than real humans picking our music for us. And it also is a way for people like me in the music media business to be lazy and to pigeonhole you. So I hate genre. I hate genre. It
That's
is
so
not
funny.
allowed. It needs to be removed, expunged from the lexicon.
Yeah, no, I think too is like as I continued to grow as a songwriter over the past 3 years, I've started to, like, care way less. Like, my song Afterthought is, like I can't even. It's, like, pop, funk, country, there's rock in it, there's, like
There's some R&B in there as well, actually, I
yeah, a
think too.
little.
But that's what I love. But that's what to me is important, is the music sounds like you.
Mhm.
The music sounds like you, and that's the most important thing. That's the thing that I think matters the most.
Yeah.
You said about songs flowing. Another quote from Mark Knopfler is that a song is a child, and the songwriting process is like bringing up a child, because the song is its own person. The song is its own entity. It has a life of its own. You are not controlling the song, like you're not controlling a child. You can guide them, but
Yeah.
ultimately that song has to take on its own path, has to take its
Mhm.
own path and stand up on its
Absolutely.
own legs and walk. So I think, I think real songwriters know how to be true to the song and allow the songs to flow through them rather than them write the songs.
Mhm, absolutely. Yeah, and the one thing I will say, which is perfect going off of the no genres thing, is that when I write a song, my focus is on the lyrics and the story, what it's saying, and a melody and the chord progression. That is a song. A song is lyrics, melody, and chords. If you would give that song to 50 different artists, they can do whatever they want to record that song in a way that sounds like them. If you write a song with the genre in mind, you're going to completely shut out so many other avenues that song could be. And so I think that's like something that I've tried to keep in mind. And I feel like I'm definitely starting to find myself more as a songwriter now that I'm letting go of genres because I'm doing whatever I want. And I think what also is really cool about this is that if you are very, versatile with like all the different styles and very diverse, then you're going to expand your listenership because if listeners have a variety of music that they listen to, maybe someone just likes pop. Okay, well, maybe they'll just like my pop music, but other listeners who like other genres might like some of my other music. So I think being so specific with a certain genre just limits who may like your music. I think this can kind of lead into the mainstream versus independent music scene a little bit because I noticed, like, especially mainstream artists who are signed to major record labels, like, they basically have very strict sounds and target audiences and all of that. And I think the beauty about being an independent musician without anybody dictating what I'm doing is like I can literally do whatever I want. And I think that's awesome. And I think the independent music scene is so beautiful and diverse because we have that freedom. So as a radio presenter, with your selection process, there's so much music out there. So how do you go about choosing what songs fit your show?
Well, to be honest, it's very subconscious. And I think I'm blessed that I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've built up this very subconscious thing. What I always start with is an idea, a feature, usually. Maybe a new album, maybe a new song, something that someone in the community has given me. I am so blessed to be a part of such a vibrant community that I rarely sit down and go, okay, what am I going to play this week? There's usually something, even if it's just one song. Maybe someone's given me a world premiere of a new single, which is always a huge privilege and huge honor. Or maybe if there's a new album coming out by someone I like. Maybe there's an album on the way and I'm able to kind of heckle that person into giving me some songs from it, which often happens. I feel like I begin with an idea, and then from that idea, I expand outwards. I want there to be a beginning and a middle and an end to every broadcast, and I then fill in the gaps in between. I want to take people on an emotional journey, and that journey is not necessarily lyrical. That journey can be melodic, that journey can be chord progressions, or that journey can be lyrical. And I want to always incorporate as many of my musical friends or musical family, as I call them, into a show as possible. So if I've spoken to someone that week, I'll usually play them because I've spoken to them. This person's on my mind. Are they having a good day? I really hope they're having a good day. Do I know someone's having a really bad day or someone's had something go wrong in their family? I'm going to play their music. I think it's really important to play their music, not to make a big thing about the fact that I know they're not doing okay, but just because the act of playing someone's music can mean so much to them. And that's something I learned a few years ago is that the act of playing a song and then talking about how much you love it can make someone's day.
Absolutely.
It can make their week. And now that I've done this for a really long time, I have built up enough of a network where I don't need to play all of the artists who send me stuff. And I've in the past couple of years, I'd say since the pandemic. So before the pandemic, I had my finger in so many indie pies around the world. I knew people in the Australian Americana scene. I knew people in the American Americana scene. I knew a lot of people in the British folk scene. I had contacts in South Africa. I have contacts all over the world. I've got contacts in Canada. I've got contacts in South Africa. I've got contacts in Europe. Got contacts in the UK. I know people everywhere. And that was great pre-pandemic. Once the pandemic hit, it was an overload. I was swamped with so much music. I couldn't possibly play it all. I couldn't possibly scratch the surface of it. I'm ashamed to admit that there are artists who I played in 2020 that I've probably forgotten their names. And that really, really, really embarrasses me. I want to publicly apologize to all of those people if any of them hear this, because that's not okay. That's not how I want to do this. No, I'm
Yeah.
serious. That's not how I want to do this at all. So since then, I really changed my approach. And this is where I think I am very unique in what I do. For me, it's all about the personality of an artist. Is an artist a really nice person? If yes, and if their music is great, then I want to play them. I want to support them every week. We need to be supporting each other. For me, the radio presenter artist relationship in the indie world is very symbiotic because I need you as much as you need me. Because without you, the artists making the music, I can't do what I do. But more than that, without you as the artists supporting me, without the retweets, without the likes, without the sweet messages, without the DMs of support, without the reposts of the mix clouds, then no one's going to hear what I do. Then I'm just going to be sitting in here talking to a wall. And so for me now, my music selection process is very instinctive and very organic, and it's very emotion driven. If I play a person 2 or 3 times and they don't react really to me playing their music, then I'm not gonna play it anymore. If I play an artist and bring them into the sort of the Twitter conversations and things that go on around my show and around the station, and they are all about self promotion, they're not going to support other artists. Again, I won't be really supporting them anymore. For me, personality of the artist is absolutely vital. And I understand some people are more introverted, and that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. But be nice. Be a nice person and you will go far. If you're a songwriter and you're all you're about is pushing your own music and putting that out there, if you're not going to support your peers and if you're not going to support the people who are trying to support you, then I know I'm in the minority here. I know the way I look at it is completely different, but I'm not making any money doing this. I'm doing this because I love it. I want to give as much love to all of you as I can. And if you don't want to receive that, then that's okay. But I'm going to find someone else who will.
Yeah.
You are an exception. You are an exception to this. But it's normally no, you are because it's normally older artists who get played on my show, and that's not because I'm trying to be political or anti-ageism or anything like that. I I care about that. It's something I am passionate about because the majority of artists who are starting out, particularly people who are younger people, don't really care about radio.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I think it's so important as a songwriter to make genuine connections with people. And going back to what you were saying before about the personality, Same with me. Like, I do not want to be associated with somebody if they're not nice, if they're selfish and only care about themselves. And I have honestly tried to make connections with artists who are at the same level as me, who just ignored me or gave me like flippant replies, basically implying like, oh, I'm below them. And it just sucks because I think like we all need to support each other. And I completely agree with what you're saying about like without the songwriters you wouldn't have a job. Well, without radio presenters we wouldn't get our music heard widely. And so I think a really interesting whole message to take away from this podcast that never really crossed my mind before, but it really is now, is that songwriters and radio presenters, though we do different things, like we are so intertwined and we need each other, and what we do has very similar qualities. Like you were speaking about your show having a beginning, middle, and end, and you want emotion. A song has a beginning, middle, and end, and there's emotion in that. But you're just displaying a whole bunch of songs in a way that captures a message and spreads emotion, whereas we're doing it in a single song or an album or EP or whatever. But I think that the bottom line is like emotion and genuine connections, personality is so, so important. Because I think too, it's like as I've grown a little bit over this past year, this has been the best year ever, 2022. And I think that now that we're coming up on 2023 and looking ahead, it's so important to me to like remain humble and like appreciate everything, because it's really sad because there's some artists that I've been a fan of for quite a while who became really famous, and then after that it's like they completely change. And I think it's so important to remain kind and focus on making genuine connections with great people and supporting each other. I think that's so, so important.
Well, all of this ties back into our quote. The quote actually goes on. I stopped sort of halfway through because it's a very wordy, mumbly quote. But to sum up the rest of it, basically says that, have this wave of popularity because you had a few hit singles. That's all it is. And Mark kind of laughs. He says, but then at the end of the day, you'll get back to doing what you love, which is writing songs and playing for people. And I feel the same as a radio presenter. What I love is sharing songs. And a loyal listener who gets up very early in the morning, is on the East Coast of the US and gets up at crazy o'clock to listen, once said to me that my show is like a love letter to the artists I play.
Aw.
And that's really how I feel. I love the music I play. If I'm playing your music, it's because I love the music and I love you as the person who made that music. What gets me out of bed in the morning is knowing that I get to basically play someone's music and say, "Hey, I love you. I love what you're doing. I love your music. I love you, your heart." And it means a lot that you've written and sung this song and that I get to play it. And when an artist gets that and responds to that, and when people listening get that and respond to that, that that's living the dream.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything I could ever possibly want, and that's what makes it so special to be a part of this industry, of this community.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love everything you just said. I think that's an amazing point to wrap up on, because I think at the end of the day, it's all about the music. Songwriters, we write music because we love music. Radio presenters play music because they love music. It's all about the music. And I think that no matter what's going on in the world, we always have music. And I'm so appreciative of you and all the other radio presenters out there who support independent music. And I'm so lucky to have so many friends who are songwriters and in other areas of the industry, because I try so hard to make my circle a very safe space, a healthy place for myself, because the industry has some not so great parts to it. And so I think surrounding yourself by the people who care, with good personalities, and who love what they do is so important to me. So, Chris, it was lovely having you on the show. Please share with the listeners where they can connect with you on social media and also listen to the Tripwire.
Oh, Demi, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. BlueTorchRadio.com is where you can find the show. The Tripwire airs on Tuesday at 5 a.m. Eastern, That's 10 a.m. in the UK, 11 a.m. Central European, and do the maths where you live. It's in the evening here in Australia. You can find me on Twitter at Trekwest, Trekwest, and the same handle on Mixcloud, where if you follow me, you'll get to hear every radio show that I present uh, posted a few days after they happen live. If you're an artist who would like to get in touch, Chris at bluetorchradio.com, CHRIS at bluetorchradio.com. Send me your music. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and connecting and sharing your music with the world.
Fabulous. Well, Chris, thank you so much again for joining me. It was lovely having you on for such a great chat. I'm so honored I got the opportunity to chat with you today. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this incredible conversation with Chris West. And of course, until next time,
Stay
stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.